Hi everyone, it's Jen from Pretty Little Garden, or should I say Rainy Little Garden. As you can see, on this particular day, we're getting quite a bit of rain, and this has been, like this all week. We've gotten several days of rain and windy, cold temperatures. We even had a brief but intense hailstorm last night, and you could see it did some damage to my pots in the front, knocked a few things over. So I have not been in my garden this week. There just wasn't a day that was conducive, for being outside and getting things done. And I can see that the annuals that I have in my garden are starting to decline, as the temperatures get colder and the winds pick up. So I decided to take you into my kitchen once again. I'm going to be making some soup today, and I thought I'd take you along with me in the kitchen. So I hope you enjoy. Today I'm going to be making cream of broccoli soup, and I figure I'd take you along again. This is a dish that my son Tyler likes, and for this recipe I take it out of the Betty Crocker cookbook, double the recipe, and yeah, that's where I get the recipe from. It is going to call for about 3 pounds of broccoli, and I'm going to use a combination of frozen broccoli. I just have a couple of bags here. In fact, I can cut them open. And if I go over 3 pounds, that doesn't really bother me. I can always add a little more broth if I feel I need to thin it out. So that's no problem. I have used all frozen at times, but if I have fresh, I like to combine fresh broccoli as well. So I have got about 10, 20, 18 ounces here. And I'm just going to cut up most of the rest of this fresh broccoli as well. Give this a rinse in the sink first. I have always loved cream of broccoli soup. It's probably one of my favorites. However, my 2 older boys, they did not like broccoli at all. So I didn't really make this for them, but I think I started to make it more when Tyler was born because he ate it. He liked it. I usually made it and I would mix it with pasta for him, and he really enjoyed it, and it's still one of his favorite dishes that I make for him. Next thing I'm going to do is cut up an onion. This is a sweet onion. Any kind of onion will do. And the next thing I'm going to do is cut up some celery. I try just rinsing off the broccoli here, rinsing off the celery. I'm just going to cut the ends off that aren't as appetizing looking, that are sort of brown. And I'm just going to cut. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is bring 4 cups of water to a boil in my pot. Okay, our water came to a boil. So we're going to add all of the broccoli. Just gently add that in, the fresh and the frozen. And then adding in the onion and the celery. And we'll try to give everything a little bit of a stir here. I'm going to cover it up and we'll let it boil until it's tender. I'm going to start with 10 minutes and then I'll check it again. Okay, we're just going to check on everything here. Let's see. Now, the ones on the top are still kind of hard, so I'm just going to stir it around and probably cook it for we'll do another 5 minutes and check on it. Because you don't want it to be like mushy, you just want it to be tender. Just so you can put a knife or a fork through it. We'll set it for 5 more minutes. Okay. I think that is perfect. We did about 15 minutes. The next thing I'm going to use is this Immersion Blender. It has a blade on the end. It's a Cuisinart. I can try and find and link it below, but it's very handy. If I didn't have this Immersion Blender, I would have to take everything out of the pot and put it into a regular blender, and I'm just blending this until smooth. So the Immersion Blender, I got this years ago from my old neighbor, Allison, when we lived at our old house, as a gift, and I've used it so many times since. It's such a great kitchen gadget. So I'm just going to turn it on and we're going to blend it until everything's pretty much smooth. And I just kind of lift it up and down initially until everything kind of starts to break up, and then I can kind of move it around a little easier. You can see it's just all pureed up. And the next thing we're going to do is actually remove this from the pot and put it in a separate bowl. And we're going to make kind of a little bit of a roux. I'll show you how we do that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is move all of this pureed broccoli, celery, and onion into the clear dish I have over here. You like my spatula? I got this as a gift from Everett's girlfriend Lola last year for my birthday. I love it. Thanks, Lola. Get my pot holders on here so I don't burn myself, and try not to splatter it on myself. It comes out pretty easy. Just use the spatula for the last little bit there. All right, I'm just going to set this aside for now. What I do next is I just wipe this clean. The next thing, so you can see I just wipe this clean. It's not perfect, but it's just I have most of the chunks out of it because I just didn't want to leave, you know, any residual chunks of broccoli in there. I didn't want it to burn at this point. So the next thing we're going to do is add about 4 tablespoons of butter, give or take. That's about 4. I just have a little bit of butter. This is maybe another tablespoon. I'm just going to put that in as well. This makes, I'm doubling the recipe, so this makes like 12 servings, I think. So, and the butter is very flavorful. And what I'm going to do is start to melt the butter. I probably have this on right now, like a medium to medium low heat, just to melt the butter. And I'm going to get some flour. Give my hands a little wash. For every tablespoon of butter, you use a tablespoon of flour. And what you're doing is making a roux, which is like a thickening agent. And then we're going to add chicken broth to the roux, and that'll thicken up. And that's what, you know, that is what helps make our soup. Let me just grab a tablespoon. I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit, just past medium. All right, you can hear our butter starting to sizzle here. I'm just turning it down just a little bit. And we're going to do about 4 or 5 tablespoons of flour. There's 3, 4, and just do a little 1, 5. All right, so what you're doing here is just stirring the flour and the butter, combining it until it thickens up, and you want to let it kind of cook on the stove top for a few minutes because you want to cook the flour a bit. You know, you don't want to have that raw flour taste. I used, just for reference, this is the kind of butter that I like to use, and I did use salted for this. We are going to add a little bit of salt to the recipe. You can use unsalted butter. I don't know if it's specified in the recipe. I'll have to take a look at that, but you can use unsalted butter. Like I said, that's no problem. I'm just going to put one more tap of butter in just because I want to. Like I said, we're just cooking this flour up. Getting ready to add our chicken broth. And I think I'm going to use 1 regular chicken broth, 1 reduced sodium, because I have it. And we need about 5 cups of chicken broth, and I have about 4 cups in here, and probably use a couple cups of the regular as well. Like I said, I'm just kind of going with just a couple minutes here. You don't want the bottom of your pot to burn. So that's why, you know, you keep whisking it, keep watching it. You're just kind of cooking the flour out a bit. I'm just scraping up some little bits that have formed on the bottom, little brown bits. Again, you don't want this to burn, so it's important to keep an eye on it. You don't want to walk away at this point. All right, I'm going to go in with the Swanson low sodium chicken broth. I'm going to add the whole thing here. And as I'm adding it, I'm going to turn the heat up to like medium high because we're going to eventually bring this to a boil. I need about 5 cups of broth. That was 4. And we're going to eyeball it with the other box here. It might be about half. Might have been 2 more cups. That's okay. I'm going to give this a whisk. And basically you're going to bring this to a boil and kind of let it cook for maybe a minute or so. You can see that it's starting to boil. I'm just going to give it another gentle little stir here. Once it comes to a boil, you want to like let it cook and boil for about a minute. Okay, at this point I turn off my heat and I come back in with my broccoli mixture and I just slide it right into the broth. Snoopy Spatula coming in handy. So I just whisked in, combined the broth with the blended broccoli, celery, and onions. I'm just going to add in about a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going in just with some pepper. I think it called for a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I'm just sort of adding pepper to my taste. It also calls for nutmeg. I don't really prefer the taste of the nutmeg in my broccoli soup, but you could add the nutmeg if you wanted to add the nutmeg. I think it was, let me check what it was for that. It called for a dash of ground nutmeg. So if you wanted that flavor, you could add that flavor. And the last thing that I'm going to add is the heavy cream. And actually, before I add that, I'm actually going to bring this to a little bit of a boil again, just to warm it through before I add the cream. But while that's coming to a boil, I'm just going to pour this. And I need a little bit, smidge more of cream. I have some more in my fridge. You can use half and half, you know, if you wanted to make it a little bit lighter. I feel like, you know, for the amount of servings you get, I just like the heavy cream. I think it adds a nice luxurious finish to the soup. Nice and creamy. And you've got all your veggies in there with the broccoli. All right, you can see the soup's kind of coming to a boil. I'm just going to kind of let that come to a boil. I'll like clean up a few things. Okay, I think that's good enough. I'm just going to turn the heat off. And we're just going to add the heavy cream. And you're just going to whisk that in, and that gives it, lightens up the color a little bit, and it just gives it a really nice finish. Just making sure everything is mixed through. And there you have it. And this is the pasta that I made to go with the cream of broccoli soup. I get it from my local grocery store, Wegmans. And I also, on this particular evening, grilled up some chicken that was marinated in some Italian seasoning. And we just kind of had that along with our cream of broccoli soup. Tyler's just cutting up a piece of chicken. He's going to add it to his soup. And like I mentioned earlier, this is one of his favorite dishes, so he was excited to have dinner tonight. He's just gonna get some pasta in his dish and serve himself some cream of broccoli soup. You know what? We should get a ladle for you.
Oh, I was using this.
No, I'll use this here. You can use this. This little ladle. And Tyler likes a little more pasta than soup, so he just kind of uses the soup as like almost like a spaghetti sauce. And now I'm just making a serving for Doug.
So we cooked up some pasta here, right?
Just getting him some of the pasta and a nice hearty bowl of the cream of broccoli soup. You could also use rice if you wanted to. And you can just, eat the soup without anything in it at all. Sometimes I actually like soup with croutons in it. Here I'm just adding, you can top it with cheese. We had some Mexican cheese on hand. You could use Parmesan. Sharp cheddar would be really good. Any type of shredded cheese. And I'm just adding the grilled chicken breast to the top. So it really made for a nice hearty meal. How is it, guys?
Very good.
Very good.
Chicken is a nice touch.
Good job.
Thanks for joining me today. I will see you soon.